Yes, guys, video number two, and this evening, and that will be it for the week. As everybody knows, these are perilous times in Ireland, and definitely we don't want a government that's pessimistic. Serious pessimism, that is, we are told, what is gripping those whose job it is to lead this country through whatever winds blow. Blow ill or not. Given the prevailing global winds, it is not surprising that a sharp fall in Ireland's housing commencement figures has generated panic in this current government. It is a second term administration already reeling from an untruth told during the election campaign that last year 40,000 houses were going to be built. Even on the dogs on the street, guys knew that that was never going to happen. Funnily enough, it was too optimistic a viewpoint at that stage, we were told. That was to blame for the public having been misled on the issue. Now the government is private, whatever you can call them. They're very far removed from a genuine government. Now the government is privately briefing that this year's 41,000 target is not going to be met. Something they can see from 9 months out, even though they were unable to similarly soothsay 3 months out from the end of the year while campaigning in last autumn's general election. It's just a case of what's attempting to govern Ireland fooling the population again. And if they are pessimistic, one wonders how the members of the general public feel. We have endemic crisis in health and housing, a creaking immigration system, a justice system that can do everything except deliver justice. It seems, or for that matter, an answer to any question over why a secret Garda arms dump was allowed to exist and a dodgy leather holster was issued to rank and file, including the now deceased Detective Garda Colm Harkin in Castlereagh, County Roscommon. Week after week, we see whistleblower after whistleblower revealing the wrongdoing going on in the dark recesses of the state's mechanisms, only to be rewarded with scorn and disadvantage rather than thanks, and that is if they are acknowledged at all. Last week, in the first week of the dull Easter recess, we had a report into unauthorised non-medical grade springs being inserted into 3 children. This week, week 2 of their recess, remember we had an end to another long-running political saga, which is known as the Grace case, an ending that could be described as farcical were it not so deadly serious. A report that the minister who published it couldn't even pretend to stand behind. That, instead of serving the usual demand for answers, decided to increase the supply of questions. Maybe it was a homage to this coalition's housing strategies. Then to top off this week's bingo card of the bizarre, we got the interview of MMA blowhard Conor McGregor by American journalist Tucker Carlson, and the meaning taken out of it was send in the clowns. But don't bother, they're here. So far the Irish people have managed to resist being seduced by the likes of McGregor's invective. But whatever happens this year, it is clear that McGregor is not planning to fade silently from the political spotlight, which is why this government needs to understand that just because they survived the last assault from populism doesn't mean that the barbarians at the gates can't win the next confrontation. But folks, they can't, or no one in this country has any power to stop McGregor going ahead for the presidential election because they themselves are allegedly elected. But if you dig deep into it, or seriously research, do your research on how legal the formation of Irish government is, you will find that it's far removed from legal. So therefore, who has the authority to stop the likes of Conor McGregor from putting his name on a ballot sheet? No one, to be honest. The Irish public want proper accountability and basic competence from the state. That is what the Irish people voted for, not for commissions of inquiry that are used too often to hide behind rather than to reveal the truth. Not for fictitious housing targets, not for meaningless flights over how often Michael Lowry gets to speak in the Dáil. The consequences of failing to deliver for a weary electorate now more than ever are too grim to contemplate. One thing is for sure, this is a time for pragmatists, not pessimists in government. But folks, your politicians were never the government of Ireland. The acting government and this country are civil servants and political advisors. That's all that ever governed Ireland since 1919. TDs, councillors, MEPs, senators, even the president are known as parrots, therefore they are spokespersons on behalf of Ireland's civil servants and political advisors, and that's the only way. You will realise that there is the formation of Ireland's government back in 1919 and to this day has been and will remain very controversial until the public, meaning the population, does actually something about it. Okay, guys, we will return with more towards the end of the week, more information for you towards the end of the week. And if you want to receive notifications when we are live or going live, all you have to do is hit the subscribe button, which will inform you which will notify you when we are going live. Okay, guys, enjoy your evening and the week ahead.